and we're going to get going.
Well, David, delighted to be here. I've followed your work for a number of years, and I'm excited to ask you a number of questions about these super interesting topics about how people select mates, how they lie, cheat, but also behave well in this dance that we call mate choice.
Yes, yeah. Fortunately, there are well-behaving humans in the mix here.
Good to know.
Let me tell you something. Nothing better than a well-behaved partner. When you date a chick that's a liar, that is selfish, that is just a fucking mess, scatterbrained mess, brother, I am telling you, it is fucking hell on earth. I have dated crazy bitches, and I have dated very, very normal bitches. And bro, I'm telling you, like, don't choose a woman based upon her physical attractiveness. That's all I'll say. Do not do it. Choose a woman that is coming from a good family, stable family. Parents are still married and together. Father is clearly the leader of the family. She respects men. She trusts men because she respects her father and trusts her father. Okay. When he's talking about, you'll see this. A lot of the red flag behaviors here, you'll see with these women. Not good, man. Not good. Be careful. Don't get burned. But if you do get burned, you're going to be like gorilla pimp because you're going to learn so much.
Just to start off, perhaps you could just orient us a little bit about mate choice. You know, some of the primary criteria that studies show men and women use in order to select mates, both, should we call them transient mates as well as lifetime mates?
Right. Well, that's a critical distinction because what people look for in a long-term committed mateship, like a marriage partner or a long-term romantic relationship, is different from what people look for in a hookup or casual sex or one-night stand or even a brief affair. So that's actually critical. I wonder if we could maybe just back up a second and just talk a little bit about the theoretical framework for understanding mate choice.
Sure.
So it basically stems from Darwin's theory of sexual selection. And most people, when they think about evolution, they think about cliches like survival of the fittest or nature red in tooth and claw. And Darwin noticed that there were phenomena that couldn't be explained by this so-called survival selection. Things like the brilliant plumage of peacocks, sex differences, like in, stags, for example, have these massive antlers and the females of those species do not. And so he came up with the theory of sexual selection, which deals not with the evolution of characteristics due to their survival advantage, but rather due to their mating advantage. And he identified two causal processes by which mating advantage could occur. One is intrasexual competition, with the stereotype being two stags locking horns in combat, with the victor gaining sexual access to the female, loser ambling off with a broken antler and dejected and low self-esteem and needing psychotherapy perhaps, or mate value improvement.
Joins Dear MGTOW
therapy. And the logic was whatever qualities led to success in these same-sex battles, those qualities get passed on in greater numbers. And so you see evolution, which is change over time, and increase in frequency of the characteristics associated with winning these, what Darwin called contest competition. And we know that the logic of that is more general now and involves things like, in our species, competing for position and status hierarchies. So anyway, so intrasexual competition is one. But the second, most relevant to your question about mate choice, is preferential mate choice. That was the second causal pathway. And the logic there is that if members of one sex agree with one another, if there's some consensus about the qualities that are desired, then those of the opposite sex who possess the desired qualities or embody those desired qualities, they have a mating advantage. They get chosen, they get preferred. Those lacking desired qualities get banished, shunned, ignored, or in the modern environment become incels. And so the logic there is very simple, but also very powerful. And that is that whatever qualities are desired, consensually desired, if there's some heritable basis to those, then those increase in frequency over time. And so, and in the human case, these two causal processes of sexual selection are related to each other in that the mate preferences of one sex basically set the ground rules for competition in the opposite sex. So if, for example, hypothetically, women preferred to mate with men who were able and willing to devote resources to them, then that would create competition among men to claw their way, and beat out other men in resource acquisition and then displaying that their willingness to commit that to a particular woman. And same with women, though. And this is one of the interesting things about humans is that we have mutual mate choice, which is not true in all species.
Right.
So, and that is that it's not just a matter of, you selecting someone to be your mate, they have to reciprocally select you. And so with mutual mate choice, We have both preferences, mate preferences that women have and mate preferences that men have, and consequently competition among men for access to the most desirable women, in competition among women for access to the most desirable men. So that's sort of a little bit of theoretical backdrop. So you asked, well, what are the qualities that men and women desire? And maybe we'll start with long-term mating and then shift to short-term mating. And long-term mating is interesting in and of itself in that it's very rare in the mammalian world. So there are more than 5,000 species of primates, of which, more than 5,000 species of mammals, of which we are one. But the percentage of mammals that have anything resembling like a pair bonded long-term mating strategy, it's about 3 to 5%. It's extremely rare. And even our closest primate relatives, the chimpanzees, they don't have a long-term mating strategy. They don't have anything resembling pair bonded mating. In the chimps, the females come into estrus. Almost all the sexual activity occurs during the estrus phase. After that, males and females basically ignore each other for the most part, with some exceptions. But with humans, you have the evolution of long-term pair bonding, attachment, heavy male investment in offspring, a relatively concealed ovulation.
And so this is why pair bonding is extremely important when selecting a long-term partner. And again, going back to what we were saying with my great friend Paul from Apex Mindset, how pair bonding is essential to relationship happiness. And again, if you just want to ask yourself a very simple common sense question, why are you repulsed as a man by a woman who has been pumped and dumped by 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever the fucking number is, right? I mean, a girl with 20 bodies is actually, that's like relatively, like, guys can be like, okay, I guess I could tolerate that. Like, what a time we live in. But it's so important. And again, like as humans, pair bonding is extremely important, especially for guys who are more committed to having long-term success in multiple aspects of life, namely money, muscles, game, frame, right? Again, I'll say this, like when I was dating Miss MLD, I have no doubt in my mind when I was dating her, she was instrumental in my success, because I took it for granted, because after I started making money, I started, dating all these hot girls, but these hot girls are fucking psychos, dude. Like psychotic, lying pieces of human trash. And yikes, dude. Because I was under the guise thinking like, oh, I could just go out and find like a hotter version of her. Like she's a good, decent human, and she doesn't lie, she doesn't cheat, she doesn't steal, she has integrity, she loves me with all her heart. I could just go out and find a hotter version of her. And that was not the case. It still is not the case to this day. So that being said, right, when you're looking at this whole situation with long-term pair bonding, it's so important, because when you have a good woman at home taking care of you, and she's loving you, and she's legitimately and genuinely pair bonded to you at a high degree, it gives you a certain amount of this is going to be sounding really evil, but bear with me, okay? And then shout out to Yo Fitness 211. Usually the pretty ones are just tarnished mentally. Yeah, it's very, very true. Finding a beautiful woman that's not fucked up in the head nowadays, it's the ones that are like 7 territory, 7, 8, right? Those are the ones that are like really get pumped and dumped, and it fucks them up for the rest of their life. But when you have a woman who is pair bonded to you and loves you, what's funny is like this. When you date, actually, maybe I should go make myself a little bigger here. So when you date a girl that is actually really down for you, and her genuine burning desire is high, her attraction levels for you is high, and all these markers of her indicating that you're the best she's ever had, right? This does wonders for your self-esteem as a man, and ironically makes you more attractive to other chicks, right? But when you date a chick who has, she's fucked the tall, good-looking guy. She's fucked the really, really Chad, muscular guy. She's fucked the sports player, and she's fucked, basically, I mean, the modern chick, ask any fucking chick in Miami, really, or, I mean, around the globe, there's was like that in Tokyo. When they have a sample of all of these dicks, right, it scrambles their marbles. Because the thing is this, right? They did a study, and I talk about this study often. And when they gave a bunch of people samples of jelly in a supermarket, and they said, like, okay, here's 18 samples of jelly, okay? And we want you to taste them and then buy after, or you can walk away and not buy. So they did one set where there's 18 samples of jelly, and they did another set where there's 9 samples of jelly. Well, the one with 18, more people tried it, right? But few people bought. But the one with 9, few people, they tried, or majority of people tried less, and they ended up buying more. Okay? Because you have the illusion of choice in the modern dating world. A lot of these girls think that going out and getting fucked by a bunch of dudes is like, I gotta find myself. I gotta like align my chakras. I'm such a fucking Scorpio. Oh my God, girl. Right? All this bullshit, modern trash, right? And they just ruin themselves because they can't appreciate something. You know? It's like a rich kid who gets like a bunch of shit when they're early in their youth. You really don't appreciate it because you didn't have to work for it. It's the same thing with these chicks, right? So it scrambles their marbles and they're permanently fucked up. And so the chick who's been out there and she's had like, yeah, she's dated this, she's had like, you know, the Franken dude, right? She has had like the sports star, and she's had the fucking this foreign guy, and then she's had like this black guy, and she's had like this jacked white guy, and she's had like this I don't know, I'm just coming up these top of my head, you know, some artistic dude as well. And she tastes all these like guys who have like good strong points in some area and then weak points in other areas. And then when they decide to like finally think like, oh wait, maybe I should stop being like a raging whore because this is leading me nowhere. Because a lot of girls do come to that realization, but they always come to the realization too late when they're ruined and damaged for life. This body count stuff is not really talked about as much in the red pill space. And the scientific community is slowly catching up, but a lot of these studies they kind of refuse to do these studies because they're not politically correct because they defend women. But I mean, there's money in the truth. And so I've been actually thinking, and I was going to talk to Paul about this because we make enough money. We probably are going to start funding some studies. I was actually going to bring that up to him, but we really need to get down to the bottom of this and just elevate this. Truth is what's going to set us free, and it's going to help elevate us to the next level as a species, as humans.